My child, hear me and open your heart, for I am speaking to you now, and I long for you to listen with the ears of your spirit. I call you not to frighten you, but to awaken you, because I see what you do not see, and I know what waits ahead on the road you walk. Stay near to me now, cling to my hand, and do not wander from the path I set before you, for every step away from me is a step toward regret, and every moment apart from me is a seed of sorrow that will one day bloom into pain. Something heavy is drawing close to your life today, a storm that rises unseen, a shadow that seeks to cover your light. Yet I, your Lord, am greater than the storm, I am brighter than the shadow, and I am stronger than the trial that wants to break you. Do not fear what is coming, for nothing can touch you unless I allow it, and if I allow it, then it is only to build you, to strengthen you, and to bring you closer to my heart. How many times, my child, have I called your name? How many times have I whispered into your soul, and yet you turned your face away, chasing voices that promised joy, but left you empty, chasing pleasures that faded like smoke in the wind. Still I have not abandoned you, still I do not let go, still I reach out my hand in mercy, for my love for you is unshaken, unending, unbreakable. Do you not know, my beloved, that I weep for you when you wander, that I rejoice over you when you turn back, and that my heart burns with love so deep that no words of man can describe it? Come closer to me, and I will shield you from what is coming. Come and rest in the shelter of my presence, and the arrows that fly against you will fall harmless at your side. My wings will cover you, my light will surround you, and my spirit will give you peace even when the world trembles. Do not delay, do not harden your heart, for the hour is short, and the days are evil, and the enemy roams like a lion seeking to devour. But I am your shepherd, and no lion can snatch you from my hand. O my precious child, do not think that I speak in vain, do not imagine that my words are empty, for heaven and earth may pass away, but my word will never pass, and every promise I have spoken over you will stand forever. You have looked for love in many places, you have sought comfort in many arms, but none can hold you as I do, none can heal you as I can, none can save you but me. Stay close, for even now, unseen battles rage around you, angels and demons contend for your soul. Yet you are not abandoned, you are not forgotten, you are not alone, for I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Lift your eyes to me, my child, lift your heart to me, and you will see my hand stretched out, strong enough to pull you from the pit, gentle enough to wipe away your tears. I know your pain, I know your weakness, I know the fears that haunt your nights, and I tell you now, surrender them all to me, for I will carry them, and I will give you rest. What is coming today may shake the ground beneath your feet, but if you are rooted in me, you will not fall. If you are built on the rock, you will not be moved. If you trust in my word, you will stand tall while others crumble. Do not give in to despair, do not bow to fear, do not surrender to the voice of doubt, for I, your Savior, have already overcome the world, and in me you too will overcome. Remember this, my child, remember that I have chosen you. I have called you by name, you are mine, and nothing, neither death nor life, nor angels nor demons, nor powers nor fears, can separate you from my love. I speak with urgency because I see what you cannot see, and I do not want you to be caught unprepared. Stay awake, stay in prayer, stay in my presence, for those who hide themselves in me will be safe when calamity strikes. My heart longs for you, my arms are open wide, and I will never turn you away if you will come to me. So come now, my child, come while there is still time, come while the door is open, come before the night falls, and find rest for your soul in me, for I am your refuge, your shield, your deliverer, and your eternal hope. Dear child, if life has ever left you feeling unseen, unheard, or just quietly hoping someone would understand, then this message is for you. Don't scroll away. Tap the thanks button right now, not just to support, but to say, I felt that too. We're only a few dollars away from reaching our goal, and your name could be the final light that completes this moment. Don't wait for someone else. Let this be your moment. This isn't just a donation, it's your thank you, your echo, your impact made real. Stay close under the covering of my presence, for safety is not found in the strength of walls or in the power of armies, but in the shadow of the Almighty where peace cannot be stolen. You may walk through a day filled with uncertainties, You may face storms that rise without warning, and you may hear voices that speak only of fear, yet none of these will overcome you if you rest in me. Danger may surround you, but it will not consume you, because my hand is stretched above you like a shield, and my spirit goes before you like a mighty fire that clears the path. I see the snares hidden in the road ahead, traps laid in secret places, plans designed to harm you, yet I will not allow them to destroy the one who trusts in me. Darkness will try to cover the earth, confusion will whisper to your thoughts, and despair will knock at your door. But I am your light, I am your clarity, I am your hope that cannot fail. When the arrows fly by day, when the terrors rise at night, when rumors of trouble fill the air, remember that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, for I have already declared your victory. The ground may shake, nations may tremble, people may run without direction, but those who abide in me will remain steady, unbroken, unshaken, like a tree rooted by living waters. Stay within my fold and wolves cannot snatch you. Remain under my wings and storms will not drown you. Keep your heart fixed on me and fear will not enslave you. Every step you take under my guidance is protected. Every breath you draw under my covering is preserved. Every decision you surrender into my hands is secured by wisdom greater than your own. I am the wall of fire around you. I am the tower that cannot fall. I am the refuge where you find rest when the world grows restless. Do not be deceived by appearances, for even when chaos rises like a flood, my power holds back the tide. Even when shadows stretch long across the land, my light breaks through and reveals the way. You may not always understand the reasons for trials. You may not always see the purpose in hardship. But know this, nothing touches you unless I weave it into a greater design that works for your good. Stay hidden in the secret place of prayer. Remain steadfast in the truth I have spoken. Guard your heart with faith, and you will pass through fire without being burned. You will cross the waters without being swept away. You will walk through battlefields without being defeated. I am the same yesterday, today, and forever, and as I protected the faithful before you, so will I protect you now. The lion roared at Daniel, but his mouth was shut. The fire raged against the 3 in Babylon, but it could not scorch them. The storm rose against the disciples, but the waves obeyed my word. And in the same way, no storm, no fire, no enemy will prevail over you when you remain in me. Let the nations rage, let the mountains crumble, let the earth quake. Still I am your fortress. Still I am your anchor. Still I am the everlasting arms that hold you safe. Walk through this day with courage, not because of what you can do, but because of who I am in you. Do not fear the unseen, for I see it clearly. Do not fear tomorrow, for I am already there. Do not fear the plots against you, for they will collapse under the weight of my authority. I surround you with angels who stand watch at every hour. I cover you with grace that no curse can penetrate. I fill you with peace that no fear can uproot. Let your heart rest in confidence. Let your soul breathe in calm. Let your steps move forward in boldness. Because you are not abandoned, you are not unguarded, you are not left alone to face the weight of the day. I stand as a wall before you, a guard behind you, a shield beside you, and a light above you. Nothing can reach beyond the boundaries of my love. Nothing can strike through the strength of my protection. Nothing can tear away the covering of my promise. Trust this truth, hold it firmly, let it sink deep within you, and you will find strength when others faint, peace when others panic, hope when others despair. Stay in my presence, and you will be safe. Stay in my love, and you will endure. Stay under my word, and you will not fall. Unforgiveness is a weight that slows every step forward, a silent chain that binds the soul even when the body appears free, a heaviness that lingers in the heart until joy feels distant and peace seems unreachable. It begins as a small seed planted in the soil of pain, watered by memories of betrayal, and nourished by the thoughts of what was said or done, until it grows into a tree that casts a long shadow across every part of life. Each moment of bitterness steals strength. Each memory replayed adds another stone to the load, and each refusal to release becomes a barrier that blocks the flow of blessing. Many try to walk with this burden, convincing themselves that holding on gives them power, yet in truth it drains power away, leaving the spirit weary, the mind restless, and the body worn from carrying a load never meant to be carried. The weight of unforgiveness is deceptive, for it promises justice but delivers chains. It whispers of control but sows captivity. It claims to guard the wound, but in reality it keeps the wound from ever healing. With every day that passes, bitterness seeps deeper, affecting words spoken, decisions made, and even the way love is received. It clogs the heart like a dam against a river, preventing living waters from flowing freely, cutting off joy at its source, and leaving the soul thirsty for peace. Relationships grow strained under its pressure, opportunities slip away unrecognized, and even prayer feels distant when the spirit clings to the darkness of offense. You cannot run swiftly into your calling with shackles dragging at your feet. You cannot lift your eyes to heaven when your gaze is fixed on the wrongs of yesterday. You cannot fully embrace the future when your hands still clutch the pain of the past. To forgive is not to excuse, nor is it to pretend the wound never happened. To forgive is to release yourself from the grip of the memory, to place the burden in the hands of the one who judges righteously, and to walk forward unchained. Forgiveness does not erase justice. It entrusts justice to the only one who is perfect. It does not make the wrong right, but it makes the wounded whole. When you forgive, chains fall off, doors open, and the soul breathes again as if for the first time in years. Freedom comes not because the past is forgotten, but because it no longer defines the future. Not because the pain is erased, but because it is healed by grace. The enemy delights in unforgiveness, for he knows it blinds the eyes, hardens the heart, and isolates the soul, but heaven rejoices when the captive is set free by choosing to release what was held. Some carry unforgiveness so long that it becomes part of their identity, a constant companion that whispers in the night. Yet even the heaviest of burdens will fall in an instant when surrendered at the cross. Love cannot flourish where bitterness reigns, hope cannot thrive where resentment is fed, and faith cannot grow where offense is nurtured. To forgive is to choose life. To forgive is to open the windows of the heart to let light back in. To forgive is to walk lighter, freer, stronger, no longer bound by the invisible chains of yesterday's hurt. Those who forgive find themselves renewed. Their prayers rise unhindered, their joy returns, and their peace deepens, for forgiveness unlocks the very doors that bitterness had slammed shut. The longer you carry the weight, the slower your journey becomes, but the moment you let go, your steps quicken, your spirit lifts, and your path clears. Lay it down, for every moment you hold on to unforgiveness, you delay the destiny waiting ahead. Release it, for every day you cling to resentment, you carry a weight that was never meant to stay. Freedom is closer than you think. Healing is nearer than it feels, and the life you long for is just beyond the choice to let go. Arrogance, when it hungers for control, begins as a subtle leaning of the heart toward itself, and before one knows it, that quiet leaning becomes a fierce craving that will crush compassion beneath its feet. See how it first raises its head in small refusals to bend, in the quiet justifications that say, "I deserve this, I must be first," and from that seed a ruthless appetite grows, an appetite that will not be sated until every soft thing is pressed flat and every gentle impulse is forced to bow. For when a spirit demands to rule, tenderness cannot breathe. At first the hold is almost invisible, a stubborn pride that prefers its own view, a stubbornness that chooses dominance in conversation, in relationship, in judgment. And yet as the craving for preeminence feeds on every victory, mercy is the first thing to go, swallowed by the hunger for advantage, trampled like flowers under heavy boots. Compassion retreats at the onslaught, gestures of kindness shrink back, and the language of forgiveness becomes foreign speech to a soul intoxicated with position. Where once there was room to weep with those who wept, there is now only a ledger of rights and a ledger of wrongs, and every line written hardens the hand that once would have reached out. Consider how quickly warmth cools when someone insists on being right, how relationships stiffen when someone insists on being first, how laughter grows thin when humility is exchanged for the need to dominate. Anger masks itself as dignity, and indignation calls itself righteousness, while underneath the heart grows narrower, more brittle, until even mercy seems like a foolish liability in the calculus of success. Oh, how terrible the slow erosion, not by thunder and sudden ruin, but by repeated small betrayals of tenderness. A cutting remark wrapped as truth, a withheld apology dressed as principle, an unforgiving posture justified as strength, and with each tiny stone thrown the inner landscape becomes harder and less hospitable to the way of kindness. Power without pity is a tyrant. Influence without gentleness is a weapon. Honor without humility is a throne built on the backs of the weak. The thirst for ascendancy will march over the mourners, will steamroll the broken, will silence the soft voices that speak of healing, until nothing humane remains to soften the edges of decision-making, and the echo of mercy dies in the halls of a heart that will hear only its own name. Watch how justice is corrupted when balance is replaced by the desire to prevail, how truth is twisted when it must serve the fortress of self, and how even grace, that delicate, generous balm, is scorned because it requires vulnerability and surrender rather than control. The one who will not yield a place at the center will find himself encircled by barren altars. Though exalted outwardly, inwardly there is vast emptiness where once there was capacity for tenderness. Wounds multiply in the presence of this hunger. Friends become calculated alliances. Forgiveness becomes a currency to be spent only when extravagance pays off, and mercy becomes something to be parceled out to the useful, never to the inconvenient or the humble. In the marketplace of the proud, mercy is overpriced and rarely traded. Hear this with whatever stillness remains in you. Dominance is never merely a posture toward others. It reorders the soul, reshaping desires, narrowing sympathies, and blinding sight to the image of the suffering face that stands closest. When the need to dominate sets its throne in the heart, patience with the frail disappears, tenderness with the wounded evaporates, and the neighbor becomes merely a stepping stone to higher ground. How many have climbed to a pinnacle only to discover that the summit is cold and lonely, because every bridge they burned on the way up left them standing alone on a brittle peak. The cost is high. Broken families, friendships turned to dust, communities hollowed out, and a conscience that over time becomes anesthetized to the cry of those trampled beneath ambition. Pride's appetite does not satisfy, it only creates more hunger. Every conquest only feeds the hunger for the next conquest, and the soul cycles toward an ever-narrowing orbit, where only dominance matters and mercy is a distant memory. Yet there is another way, a counterpath that begins with a small, courageous loosening of the grip, a single act of yielding where the powerful step aside so the wounded may pass, where the proud place their claim of right into hands they do not control and say, "Not mine, but the greater good." In those moments where humility is chosen over victory, mercy finds room to breathe again. Forgiveness returns like a long-forgotten melody, and the heart regains its capacity for compassion. To surrender preeminence is not to be diminished, it is to be enlarged by a peace that authority never purchases. The humble heart, far from being weak, holds the kind of strength that carries others through fire. It bears burdens instead of levying them, it heals instead of wounding, it restores instead of trampling. If you value life, choose restraint when the impulse arises to dominate. Let restraint be the muscle you strengthen by practice, by small refusals to assert self at the cost of another's dignity, by saying sorry before self-justification, by listening more than speaking, by embracing the lowly hand that reaches for help. Mercy is fragile at first, like rain on dry soil. It needs the shelter of humility to take root, and then it will grow into a canopy that shades whole communities. Imagine a world where power bows to compassion, where leadership is measured by service rather than stature, where strength is defined by endurance for the sake of the weak rather than victories over them. Such a world reclaims what the hunger for domination destroys. Beware the inner gospel that whispers, "I must be seen, I must be heard, I must be first." Such whispers are bait, and they lead straight to a place where empathy is extinct. Instead, cultivate a heart that delights in the flourishing of others, that measures success by the healing of wounds rather than the conquest of rivals, that sees every person as bearing a dignity that no ambition should trample. There is urgency in this counsel, for the habit of crushing mercy begins in small choices and becomes a fixed disposition if left unchecked. Choose today to interrupt the pattern, to practice gentleness, to step back so another may step forward, to withhold the sharp retort and offer instead a hand. When dominance yields to compassion, restoration follows. Broken relationships are mended, communities knit together, and the soul finds rest in a purpose beyond its own glory. Do not be deceived into thinking the pursuit of preeminence is the path to fulfillment. It is a mirage that leaves desolation in its wake. True greatness is born in humility, and the greatest among you will always be the one who serves, the one who chooses mercy when it costs them something, the one who lays down position for the sake of healing. If there is still tenderness in you, guard it fiercely against the slow creep of command that excuses cruelty as necessary. Let kindness be the compass by which you steer. Let mercy be the currency you spend freely, and let restraint be your daily discipline. In the end, what endures is not the monuments built by domination, but the lives lifted by compassion, the peace secured by gentleness, and the love that outlasts every fleeting crown. Choose mercy before the appetite for rule becomes appetite for ruin. Choose compassion before dominance has stamped out every tender thing. Choose the way that heals, for where mercy lives, life grows, and where it dies, nothing of true worth remains. Darkness aims not just to wound you, but to erase your memory of the light. It does not arrive only as a thief in the night. It comes as a clever thief that works to rewrite the story in your heart, to smudge the bright faces you once knew into shadow, to make warmth feel like a memory that belonged to someone else, as if the mornings that once woke you with hope were only borrowed moments now slipping away. At first it creeps in at the edges, a tiredness that lingers longer than it should, a silence where laughter used to live, a small unbelief that whispers the old promises were never meant for you. And you barely notice the changing landscape of your inner life, because the chisel of gloom works slowly and the eraser of despair is patient. It does not only break things, it steals names and dates and songs, the particular details that tether you to what was good, until the map of your past becomes a smudge and the roads back to joy are faint and uncertain. Where once you could recall the exact shade of dawn when hope first touched your face, the palette fades. Where once the memory of deliverance swelled in your chest like a trumpet, now the sound grows distant and thin. The enemy of brightness is not satisfied with inflicting pain. Pain can make you fierce. Pain can sharpen your cry for help. But removing the memory of mercy makes the heart vulnerable to a long, slow collapse, because without recollection of rescue, you begin to believe rescue is impossible. It is a cunning strategy. Blind a person to light by first convincing them it never existed. Notice how easily stories change when retold through the fog of this influence. Triumph becomes luck, kindness becomes accident, faith becomes youthful naivety, and the soul, deprived of its archives of hope, is left to renegotiate identity on the basis of loss alone. Memory is a fortress. The recollection of kindness, the remembrance of times when hands reached down to lift you, the vivid recall of the moments when the world shifted and you were saved. These are stones that keep the darkness from swallowing you whole. Strip the stones away, and the walls tumble. That is why the work of the dark is so insidious. It does not always come with thunder. Sometimes it arrives disguised as forgetfulness, as fatigue, as numbness, as 1,000 ordinary small resignations that together make a life seem less valuable and less worth fighting for. It tempts you to trade certainty for doubt, to let the archive of grace gather dust, to allow gratitude to grow thin, and in doing so it steals the photographs from your soul that would otherwise anchor you when storms return. When memory of the bright days is erased, the present is easily reinterpreted as final. What could be a chapter in a larger story becomes the whole book, and hope, which is stubborn and patient, seems irrelevant, because you can no longer remember why you once believed. The result is that choices are made in a shrunken landscape. Generosity withers, because you have forgotten the hands that once gave to you. Courage fades, because you cannot summon the proof that you have been upheld before. And love is rationed, because the taste of being loved has been dulled. But there is another work that counters this theft. There is deliberate remembering, an art of recovering the light by rehearsing it aloud, by naming the mercies, by recounting the times when a door opened and a way was made. Recollection is a spiritual discipline, like lifting stones and rebuilding the fortress, and it matters not how small the memory seems. A single face that once smiled when all else failed, a single night when you felt inexplicable peace, a single answered prayer. Each detail is a torch you can set down again for the next step. Tell the story of what saved you. Tell it even if the words tremble. Tell it even if the ears that hear it are only your own. Repeat the refrains of deliverance until the sound returns to its proper volume, and the heart remembers how to hope. Community plays its part as well, because other people carry fragments of the light you cannot see. They can remind you of who you were before the fog. They can speak the names of victories forgotten. They can bring the snapshots of your life back into view when you can no longer find them yourself. Worship is medicine for a memory that is under attack. When voices rise to the one who is light, memory is reignited, and the soul recognizes again the shape of what it was given. Prayer is not only petition but testimony. Lay out the evidence of grace in prayer, and the mind will begin to catalog it once more. Guard the moments of joy deliberately. Record them, keep them in a journal, teach them to a child, make ritual of remembrance, so that the archive of hope is not left to the mercy of circumstance. Resist the lie that forgetting is harmless. It is the slowest form of dying because it dissolves the compass by which you move. When you remember, you are strengthened. When you recall that you were once rescued, the muscles of courage remember how to flex again. Remembering also reshapes the way you interpret suffering. Instead of seeing pain as proof of abandonment, you see it as part of a larger tapestry in which light has a history of breaking through. This is not sentimentalizing the past, nor is it denying the reality of grief. It is a faithful reclaiming of the ledger of grace so your present decisions are informed by what is true, not by what temporary darkness would have you believe. The antidote to the eraser is to write with a faith that does not smudge. Sing the songs that narrate deliverance. Rehearse the prayers that once brought comfort. Tell the stories of rescue to one another, until the narrative becomes stronger than the forgetfulness trying to take hold. Even the smallest recollection can act like a lighthouse cutting through fog. One remembered sunrise can be enough to guide a step. And remember, too, that light has its own persistence. Even when memory falters, the trace of it remains in your longing, in the way you turn toward warmth without knowing exactly why, in the ache for goodness that refuses to be soothed by cynicism. Trust those longings. They are the fingerprints of what once warmed you and can warm you again. Finally, stand against the erasure by living as a keeper of light for others. Pass on what you have been given. Be the one who names and remembers. Be the voice that says, "There was a day when this mercy came, and it will come again." By doing so, you not only restore your own archive, you become a walking testament that memory and hope can be reclaimed, that brightness is not only a past phenomenon, but a present and future promise. So do not let the slow theft go unnoticed. Actively recover the facts of grace. Rehearse the moments of rescue. Surround yourself with witnesses who will not let you forget. And in time, the shadow's attempts to erase will fail, because light remembered becomes light relived, and the heart will recognize its own story once more. The enemy moves with patient cruelty, prowling the borderlands of your heart like a hunter who knows every trail and listens for the smallest sound. He studies not to be surprised, but to find the soft places you hide, the unresolved regret that still burns like a coal under the ribs, the old shame that you thought you had buried, but which tilts your shoulders and colors your thoughts, the loneliness that hums in the quiet hours and makes you reach for false companions, the places where your faith felt thin and your courage once faltered, and with each observation he draws a map of how to unsettle you. He waits for the moment when weariness has thinned your vigilance, when grief has soaked the edges of your prayers, when petty irritations have become open doors, and then he approaches in that hour of small surrender, as if it were a perfect storm, ready to pounce on what has already been weakened by neglect. His tactic is not always the grand, obvious assault, but the steady, corrosive pressure that shifts a heart's allegiance by degrees, until one morning you wake and find trust traded for suspicion, hope exchanged for fear, and the light that used to warm your face reduced to a dim ember. Watch how he uses memory against you, replaying a failure, magnifying a mistake, pressing you to believe that one misstep defines the whole journey, so that confidence drains and the feet that once ran now stumble. Observe how he plants doubts about the kindness of God, about the sincerity of friends, about the possibility of healing, until your inner world narrows into a custody battle between accusation and grace. He studies relationships, too, taking note of tender places where a cutting word would leave a lasting bruise, and he times his strikes to coincide with anniversaries and tired evenings. When defenses are naturally low, he delights in turning affection into accusation, service into resentment, and conversation into confrontation, because every fractured bond is another place for him to make camp. When he cannot break you outright by offense, he tries to steal your witness quietly, by convincing you that small compromises are harmless, that one concession won't hurt, until a chain of compromises has muffled your voice and reshaped what you will stand for, and before you realize it, your testimony is a whisper where once it roared. He studies your rhythms, what soothes you, what bores you, what distracts you, and then he offers substitutes with seductive patience, distractions that look innocent at first, but deepen into addictions, busyness that masquerades as usefulness but functions as avoidance, approval-seeking that feels like warmth,